So I know this isn't a review, but I still like to give disclaimers so you guys know everything. I know these phones both really well. I've used each of them on their own as my daily driver for well over a month. The OnePlus we're testing is updated to the most recent XNPH 300 version of CyanogenMod with Android 4.4.4. And both are being reviewed directly as they come out of the box. There's been no rooting or ROMing or anything that's been going on with these phones at all. It's just directly as they come out of the box as you would buy them. So I'm not going to get into benchmarks and that kind of stuff here. We covered those in the review, which are going to be linked down below if you want to check them out. And they're both running the same Snapdragon 801 processor with almost identical 2.5 GHz clock speeds anyway. So these are two of our highest rated phones ever, but since we live in a competitive world, let's just make them fight. They're going to duke it out in 5 categories. We're going to go through screen, design, build, software, camera, and intangibles. And I know there are a ton of other categories we can cover, but this can't be an 8-hour video, so I picked the 5 that I thought were most relevant. Let's start with screen, since they're phones and you're staring at the screen almost all the time anyway. Before anyone starts screaming that this is over before it even begins, there's a lot to the screen story here. So first, specs. The G3's got a 5.5-inch 2560 by 1440 pixel display. That means it's got a 534 ppi. The One has a 5.5-inch display, the same size. It's 1920 by 1080 and a PPI of 401. So on paper, this would just be a total slaughter. Same screen size, better resolution on the G3, round over. But it's not that simple. Remember though, the first time you saw HD programming on a TV, for me it was a football game, it was super drastic. So I remember seeing HD for the very first time, being able to see the blades of grass. Watching standard definition was such a big difference. I will say though, coming from 1080p to the high resolution screen on the G3, it is not that drastic like it was from standard to high definition. Just as a heads up, it's nothing that's going to blow you away. It's just not that different from 1080p to the G3. It definitely looks sharper, but it could easily be mistaken for a really good, crisp 1080p screen. Colors can be a little bit washed out though, but it will play your video back in 4K. The OnePlus gives you options thanks to Cyanogen to adjust the screen settings right out of the box and to find the setting that's really best going to suit your needs. The recent updates make the screen a bit softer and a change that I really appreciated. Colors look awesome, whites look white, blacks look black, the way they should be. If I was a general consumer here, screen resolution between the two wouldn't factor into my opinion at all. But because I have a bit of a mental disorder where I need to have the latest and greatest specs in my tech phones, then yeah, it's going to be the G3 here. So maybe the results were predictable, but it wasn't the runaway victory that you might have originally thought. Consider it a moral victory for the G3. Last note though, both are really bad in direct sunlight as most phones are, but the OnePlus One is almost useless in direct sunlight. Next, let's jump to design and build. During my review of the G3, I commented on how I thought the plastic back with the metal coating was a nice middle ground, and I think it still is, but the material on the back of the OnePlus One is hands down the best I've ever felt on a phone, metal or otherwise. I'm sorry, HTC One M8. It's textured enough that it's got a really good grip, it isn't rough, and it looks awesome without attracting just crazy fingerprints. They completely nailed this one. I like how the screen appears to be floating on metal. I like that the user gets to choose between on-screen or capacitive buttons. I just really like how the phone feels in the hand. It's not perfect though. I've got a creak down by the charging port. I do have some worries about how it's going to handle sort of long-term wear and tear and the inevitable drop I'm going to have. I don't use cases on any of my devices. The G3 though is certainly no slouch. I'm still not a huge fan of the buttons on the back, but the near bezel-less design is absolutely stunning. The phone can be a bit slippery, but it's pretty gorgeous overall. It's like picking between Kate Upton and Giselle here, but I'm going with the OnePlus One. All right, next let's talk about software. So the G3 is running LG's custom skin atop Android 4.4.2, whereas the OnePlus now comes with CyanogenMod on Android 4.4.4. LG skin is not offensive to the eyes like TouchWiz can be. The fonts and icons are pretty pleasant. They have a pretty elegant solution for running apps on top of each other, and for the most part are pretty decent about pushing updates out, at least compared to the other big manufacturers. Cyanogen though is a customization freaking dream. Everything from the theme, you can even pick a G3 theme. You can easily tweak anything here. It can be modified and to fit your needs. Not to mention it supports LG's awesome knock to unlock feature. I could gush about Cyanogen for a really, really long time here. This is my first really extended time with it, and I absolutely love it. I originally thought that stock Google was the best OS going in the Android world until I tried this. And it's not that there's anything wrong with LG's UI or the software on it. It's just that Cyanogen's is so great. This one definitely takes round 2. So next, let's talk about camera. So during our review of each, we did full galleries. Again, hit the links down below to check them out. You can see what it looks like in different lighting situations and that kind of such. Specs rarely tell the whole story here, but both have the same 13 megapixel camera. The recent update to the OnePlus added a really cool feature called Clear Image, which takes around 10 shots, stitches them all together. It looks like HDR on steroids, and the pics come out really, really good. Focus time is about average. The camera shots are pretty decent. It's solid in low light, offers filters built right in, and just takes generally nice pictures. The G3, on the other hand, is the first phone to offer laser autofocus, which sounds gimmicky, but it really really works as advertised. It is crazy fast, and I'm startled how quickly it can not only focus, but also snap a shot. Pictures also come out looking really great. I got a 10.5-month-old at home who's just starting to crawl, and getting him in focus is next to impossible. And of course, as a parent, I take way more pictures than I should, and the LG absolutely nails it there. I don't care much for 4K video on a phone, so focus and picture fidelity matter the most to me. And for me, LG comes out on top and takes this round. So we were all knotted up at 2-2. Let's go into the final round and talk about intangibles. This, for me, is the most interesting category. The OnePlus brings a ton to the table. Most importantly, its ridiculous price. $349 for an unlocked phone that can square off against the big boys is absolutely incredible. I love the way that phone feels in the hand, obviously, as we talked about. Battery life is off the charts awesome, and even after the update though, the call volume is still kind of on the low side, and that's a bit of a problem for me. The G3 though brings some features of its own. It's got a removable back and expandable battery. You also add in expandable storage as well. The option for Wi-Fi calling, if the carrier supports it, is also there, and it's got really loud calls and speakers, and the antenna is crazy strong. If both of these were on the table, and I can only pick one to use for the next 12 months, it's a tough decision, but I would pick the G3. The camera, strong antenna, speaker, and screen really sell it for me, even despite the higher price. Both phones, though, are really incredible, and I think these are two of the three best phones on the market right now if you want to throw in the HTC One M8. You cannot go wrong with either of these devices, but the big determination for me is which one I would pick if I was going to use one for 12, 18, 24 months, and I would just pick the G3. It was not a runaway victory at all. I love the OnePlus One. I think it's an incredible phone, and for a little more budget conscious, I mean, you're gonna get a killer device with the OnePlus One, assuming you can get one, which is always really hard to do. Their invite system is a bit silly. Suppose it'll come out in wide release for the end of the month, early September, but I think LG absolutely nailed the G3, and I think it's one of the best Android phones ever to be made. So I want to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? If you disagree, tell me why. If you agree, tell me why. Which one would you pick up if you had both on a table and you had to use one for a year? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Leave your comments down below. Until next time, I'm John Redinger from Techno Buffalo. See you guys next video. Bye-bye. Thank you guys for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you want to be up to date on what's coming next in the world of consumer electronics, hit the big subscribe button right down below.